I feel for you.
Well, it was like 18 years ago.
Sure.
But I still have vivid memories of my poor little baby turning blue. So,
That's no fun.
all right. So, are we expecting?
No, Jennifer is traveling, and oh wait a minute, Roberto.
What do we push? Got it or?
Yeah, you can just.
Was Roberto here last night? Is he coming?
No, he was going to VMNH.
Okay. Well, you guys did a good job telling everybody about the. Is it supposed to be live streamed or executive committee session?
Yes.
There's Roberto.
Okay, good.
Roberto.
Gotta set all my permissions here.
Yeah. It's all good. All right.
Yeah,
So,
executive committee meet is under the same board
okay.
guidelines as full board meeting.
All right, well, we'll call the meeting to order.
That said, there is nothing wrong with after the meeting that you and Cory conduct
Okay.
other business.
Okay. All right, so welcome everybody. I think the first action item is to approve the minutes from last executive committee. My name is spelled wrong in that. So if we could fix the spelling of my name, that'd be great. It's Lisa Cater in a couple places, but I didn't have any other edits right at the top two places. Anybody have any edits to the minutes from last executive session? Any changes? All right, do we vote?
To approve minutes, yes.
I need a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll motion.
Second,
Anybody disagree? All right. All those in favor say aye.
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 Hi.
Aye. Okay, the minutes are approved. I have a chair's report, which is the same one I'm going to give in the regular meetings. You guys can tell me what to add. I wanted to welcome Dr. Kuhn. Is that the right pronunciation?
Yes.
And say that we had long needed somebody to focus on herpetology. I wanted to say both events yesterday went incredibly well, assuming they did. Did both events yesterday go incredibly well? The energy launch and the curator and researcher event last night.
Yes.
Okay, good. I will say I was the EV chargers in the parking lot don't show up very well. Can we put like big blinking lights on them or something?
That is exactly what we're talking about. So we don't have a plan finalized right now, but we agree 100%. So we put those dinosaur tracks in there to go with the paint and so forth. But
it's kind of in a corner.
we're actually talking about putting something out by the road
Yeah,
that will be visible with the universal symbol.
good.
So that should be upcoming by next board.
EV drivers will find them and seek them out, but public.
Yeah, and we're gonna enter our information on the Virginia 511. for the map.
Yeah. Okay, all right. Well, I think anything we can do, I think, to make them more visible. Okay, I
Yes.
won't bring that up at the regular meeting. I was gonna say that Waynesboro is going smashingly. I was gonna talk about bones and booze now that I know what it is, because in my mind, it was a bunch of people sitting around drinking, playing with bones, but that's not what it is. So how many people, do I say? I mean, it was well.
2,100. We had
2,100.
1,000 people using the Museums for All program, that is the EBT program. And that was because of corporate partnership with Hooker Furnishings.
Okay. And have we had that before?
No, that was Robbie Hendricks, who you met at
Yeah.
the staff introduction. That was his event. We decided to take, for two reasons, take a break from Dragon Fest. We traditionally will skip a festival or not use a festival every year. We'll give it a rest because when it comes back, then we kind of get a refresh on it. So the second thing too, of course, is that DB Poley, who's so instrumental in this, has been traveling, so she would not have been available to help us with it.
All right, so I should thank Robbie Hendricks, but you also have wanting me to do a, whatchamacallit, a resolution. What am I doing?
Yeah, I have it right there. I'd like you to look over the language, make sure that you're fine with it. But basically, Hooker for 2 years in a row now has been a corporate partner, and their funds have gone to offset the admission. We used to do EBT card holders at $2 and then $1, and suddenly become free because of this partnership. And believe it or not, that elimination of the $1 or $2 fee for entry participation made all the difference in the world. So we've gotten thousands of more people through the doors, particularly those who otherwise would never enjoy the museum.
That's awesome. So is the chairman's report where I should bring up that resolution, or is there a
Yes.
different place?
No, just bring it up in chair's report.
Okay, when I bring up the resolution, do we then vote on it?
Yes, you will vote to accept it. It's in the language of the resolution.
Okay,
So Melanie Stowe will represent the Board of Trustees at next week's foundation meeting. And I'm going to request that she then present it to Earl Armstrong, who is the Chief Financial Officer for Hooker Furnishings and President of the Foundation. So
good. All right, welcome, Dr. Coon. Talk about our events. Say Waynesburg is going well. Talk about the Bones and Booze. Do the resolution for Hooker. Then I'm going to talk about our 2 deep dives, the registrar, Ms. Jill Harris, the relationship with Martinsville and Henry County. I'm going to ask people for ideas for the next deep dive. And I'm going to ask people to stay with us for the tour of Douglas Avenue and say that I think it's very important for board members to be familiar with Douglas Avenue. Is there anything I'm missing from the executive report?
due to schedule, we've had to substitute the staff introduction. So we're going to be introducing museum technician Lynn, Lynn, and I'm sorry about this. We all know her last name is difficult to pronounce, but it's Elma Mood.
Okay, wait a second, Lynn.
Lynn, Lynn.
Wait, don't tell me how to spell it, just tell me how to say it.
I'm
Elma,
going to give it to you phonetically.
Elma Mood.
Yeah, ELMA and then MOOD. That's how you spell it
Yep.
phonetically.
Elma Mood. Okay, did we get it fixed on the agenda so she's recognized on the agenda?
No, we didn't put a name. We
Okay.
just did a staff. You got,
No, it's there. It's there.
is Lynn on it?
Okay,
Oh,
good.
God, I'm
I just think it's probably nice for them to see their name and,
sure.
okay, anybody have anything else that should be in the executive report that you can think of? Joe, anything else?
I think we're good.
Okay, I do have one thing that's not an executive report thing, and I'd rather bring it up here than there. I think this is the second year in a row we've met on Veterans Day.
Yeah.
Am I the only person that has veterans in my family who are missing veterans events? Like there was a flag ceremony yesterday for my grandfather, there's parades today where my father was going to be honored. Like, why do we pick Veterans Day to have meetings?
The short answer to it is that we plan the meetings about a year out, and I don't think anyone checks.
Okay,
We
let's
just have them on the
please
same.
not
Mhm.
pick Veterans Day. I'm going to say in my report that we are not going to continue to pick Veterans Day because that's just wrong.
Well, we also, because we just pick the same weekend every year, that's just been the tradition, that we also did it once on Valentine's Day, which is a moving target. Yeah. So we will look for holidays and take the liberty of moving the Board of Trustees meeting off those days.
Yeah, I mean, it's also a state holiday. I mean, so you take people's 3-day weekend away. Okay, not Veterans Day. I'm going to say we're not going to do it on Veterans Day going forward.
Sounds good.
Okay, good. Nate, Roberto, anything you guys have for the executive committee?
I just wanted to follow up on that. I assume that there's not any sort of issue with us using our discretion to change when the board meetings are.
No, as long as they're posted 3 days in advance.
Sounds good.
Have we already set the schedule for next year?
I think we're good through, I forget what we're good through. We definitely have a tentative date for February and May. I don't know if we have the August date set yet.
All right, not Veterans Day. All right, I Any new trustees, any new people that we should recognize that have joined since last time?
No, Deb will not be here. Lauren was already introduced and there have been no new additions.
Okay, that's all I have for the executive report. Anybody have any questions about that? I mean, the chair's report? All right, Cord, treasurer's report.
This is going to be a great one this go around because our fiscal year 2023 receipts from the city and county, we're already at 100% for the
I
year.
saw that.
So we're there. Grant revenue is up. I think Ryan was telling us the other day, our attendance for our festivals has already exceeded for the year. We're hitting everything. Our sales at the in the gift shop were up, everything. The travel on a few of the expenses, travel, we're at 54% already for the year, but what was explained to me at our last meeting was that we went ahead and paid for some of the travel to the dig site, I guess, in the Wyoming.
Yes.
But that'll be reimbursed. So we'll come out even there. Under line item number 6 for vehicles, we're already at 72% there. That was, someone stole the catalytic converter in the, what'd you call it, a boom truck?
No, we call it the exhibit stand.
The
It's a box
exhibit
truck.
van, the box truck.
Mhm.
Somebody stole the catalytic converter, so we had
Oh
to,
my God.
replace the catalytic converter and everything. And then obviously printing for various things is way up. That's because we were based it on the budget from the previous year during the pandemic. And obviously we're doing much better. So
I had a note to ask about printing.
so printing
So
was,
next year we need to adjust the budget.
Yes.
Because it looks,
Yep,
it
that's-
looks really bad.
that's all
I
I was.
agree.
So other than that, there's nothing that's really standing out. Everything is right on pace for where we need it to be.
So one thing jumped out at me, and I think you explained it away in the notes, but the $200,000 federal grant is at zero. Federal funds budgeted received 0%. Are we gonna get that? Are we gonna make it up with other stuff? Are we not gonna get that?
No, we're gonna get it. In fact, this report goes to September. We've already got a chunk of it. It's through the Smithsonian. Unfortunately, what we have learned working with the Smithsonian jointly with grants, and I'm not kidding here, even though we were the one to write the grant, utilizing the Smithsonian, and we had to have a federal partner for these funds, the funds go through the Smithsonian and a chunk of it goes to us. And that's the lion's share of the $200,000. We have to show that we have spent that money before they'll actually give it to us. It's like a reimbursement procedure. So is what it is. So but we've gotten everything that we've spent so far.
Somebody might ask about that in a meeting,
I'm
because
gonna
it's
write
at
this down.
0%.
Yeah.
I mean, those were the two things that jumped out at me. The
Sure.
printing was 237% and the grants was at 0, so we might just be prepared for that.
Yep.
I won't ask again.
Spend it before you-
That's crazy, isn't it? All right, Cord, do we have to approve the treasurer's report?
Yeah, traditionally we just go ahead for transparency and do a vote on it.
Okay, Roberto, Nate, any more discussion on the treasurer's report before we vote? Sorry.
I'm sorry, that's in full board meeting. You
Okay,
don't-
so
you don't
not,
have to do it
okay,
here.
that's what I was asking. Okay, all
Sorry.
right. Okay, any more discussion on treasurer's report?
I'll just mention on the catalytic converters, because I'm in transportation, we have a fleet of about 80 vehicles at work. So we've gotten hit multiple times on these catalytic converters. I don't know if it's, there's a place that you can park them that's a little safer or other options. You might not have a big enough fleet for it to be a consideration. I just know it's just not a thing that's going away, unfortunately.
Well, we did a little bit of an unthinking action in that because it's large, we tend to park the box truck in the church parking lot. And it was parked in probably one of the very few areas around us, which we don't have a camera angle on. The second thing is that with this new one, Tim King is going to get some fluorescent paint and paint the catalytic converter, because apparently thieves are somewhat deterred by that, because before you can sell the converter, you have to scrape the paint off. So
Park it right under a camera, paint it with fluorescent paint, and then put monitored by video camera on it.
Yeah, I think we
Yeah.
will.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I hear you can get them engraved with some kind of serial number. I've known, I've seen stuff about, a lot of people have been seeing the Prius converters, and I saw one police department had like a drive-in engrave your converter with a number thing. So you may want to see if there's something like that going down. I don't know if that really will stop anybody, but
That's just crazy.
Well, that's what we did look into options, Roberto. That's not one that popped up. So we'll definitely inquire.
yeah, I guess it's like in the old days where you can engrave your serial number on your stereo equipment or whatever. I know the military used to do that all the time.
All right, very cool.
What else have we got?
For
Sure.
treasures.
Well, no, I think we're done with treasurers.
Okay.
We're moving to you.
Yeah, so you may have noticed one of the things that we wanted to bring up. I think that this is a good board discussion. Nathan and Roberto, this would be in your email, but you all probably recognize these maps. I know, Cord, we talked about this, right? So these are heat maps that we've looked at various distributional qualities of our attendance at festivals and so forth, going back to 2018. So what they're showing, I think, is really important from the standpoint of our ambitions to have statewide presence, that regardless of whether it's one of our big festivals or our smaller festivals, we get good attendance from other areas. And these
What are the colors? So I can't, like, are the colors out of,
Where people are from that came
I know,
to
but
the-
like what's green, what's orange, what's,
the hotter the color, the more people. So when you have red, that is where you're going to have the most draw from, right? And where you have moving out towards blue or green, it becomes less, right? But if we go to say like Dinosaur Festival for 2019, this is the last one before the pandemic. We hit North Carolina and Roanoke very heavily. What you'll notice is that Martinsville is yellow, and that reflects what we've already reported on, just looking at this distribution of zip code. About a third from Martinsville, a third from somewhere else in Virginia, and a third from out of state. But for these bigger festivals, we've found that while we do get a lot of people locally, we are getting a rather large draw. So this was our largest festival, Dragon Festival, right? So we are now drawing from Roanoke more heavily than we had in the past. We had, let me see here.
I still don't understand. I'm not trying to be dense. If it's red or orange, that means you're getting more people than other places, or
Yes.
yellow. So for example, for this Ice Age Fest, most of your people came from Roanoke and Greensboro.
Yes, yes. And so that's not unusual for our very well-attended festivals. So let's skip through the drive-throughs, because those were, actually, let me skip to this last. So for this Dinosaur Festival here, we got a little bit of red and orange in Martinsville, showing that we, of course, had good local participation. For Roanoke and Greensboro, Winston-Salem, we again had the large draw, and you'll see a lot of the green and blue spread well out over the map. So basically all I'm showing here is kind of a validation of our festival model, that we are drawing very well from other parts of the map. So
You're really not drawing from Virginia though. I mean, from broad parts of Virginia, like Northern Virginia, Eastern Virginia.
it's a
really
lot
central Virginia.
better than it was,
Yeah.
right? So yeah. So
Go back to like one of the earlier ones.
So this 2018, 2019 was when we were starting to hit our stride. So again, you'll see that we, with the festival model, we're starting to draw from other areas. So we are getting the word out there. It's still a tough draw. It just is. It's distance, and people wanting to do things. The other thing that I wanted to point out, though, is we're not forgetting about our local population. We don't have a heat map yet, of course, for this latest Bones and Booze. event for Halloween, but those 1,000 people that were drawn through the Museums for All program, they were all local. They were all Martinsville, Henry County. So
EBT people.
yes. So
Did you have to be, or it just turns out that way? To be one of the EBT folks, did you have to be local? Or
No. No, you can.
Just
No.
turned out that way.
Yeah, as long as you're getting federal SNAP benefits and you've got the ID, you and your family can come in for free.
That's great.
So
So are you gonna show that at the,
yes.
Well, I think
please
what's really,
explain it to people, because it took me a minute to get it.
Sure.
I think what's really cool about this is if you look at the Dino Fest from 2019, we had 3,632 visitors.
Mhm.
And then from 2022, post-pandemic, we've got 3,642. We beat it by 10.
Well,
Same festival, but 3 years later.
and those numbers are low because, and I'm honestly, I've not gotten to Jackson, who volunteered his time to do this for us. But the numbers were actually, I don't know if that was a typo, but we actually had 4,600,
Oh, wow.
right? So I don't know if he has a typo there. I know he eliminated data points that were like from California, Washington. We don't think those people are coming here. They attended, but they were here for something else, right? That's the assumption we're going under.
Yeah, but we like, the fact that they're here is what matters.
Yeah,
That we offered something
right.
that obviously was worth their time to come to, and that's what counts.
The value
And
proposition.
yeah, and you think about 2019 pre-pandemic, and now we're looking at over 1,000 more people here.
Yeah.
People are ready to get back out.
Maybe on the heat maps, you could just have a little box at the top that says other, so I don't know.
Yeah, we don't have the numbers here.
So it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Just pick four.
Mhm.
And on each map, the neat thing about this is not only does it tell you how many visitors, it tells you the unique points and also
So it does
what
have
states are,
numbers?
yeah,
It does
it's,
have numbers?
yeah, it's in the top corner of each map, and
Oh.
that's just for y'all for Roberto and Nathan, it's 5B on your supplement on the
Okay.
sheet. So when you look through it there, it's the very end of it, but it's really cool that you can break down and go like, wow, we had Arizona,
Right, right.
Florida, Kansas, Massachusetts, Texas. I mean,
I know. No, sorry, it was Bones and Booze was also on race weekend.
yeah,
So,
and that was a big race too. That was.
yeah, but we don't see a lot. What we see and what we will see when we do the analysis or finish the presentation, we're going to see a big spread of states, but it's not going to be that many people that come from those areas. So some people do leave the racetrack, maybe those looking for Halloween activities or something like that with the young ones. But I hate to be this way, but we just don't find that it's worth our effort to go after the race fans.
Well,
They're unresponsive.
I hate this. You don't want to sound this way, but there's nothing that we're going to do. Everyone that's going to the races, that are going to watch the races, are not going to come to the museum for anything we do. Maybe the Bones and Booze after the fact, but nothing else that we do. Because they're just a different clientele. I hate to say it, it's just the way that is.
And the objective of NASCAR is to draw people in and keep them there. So they're working hard. So we're working against that. And so, yeah, it just is what it is. So no harm, no foul there.
Yep.
What
All right.
else?
So as Cord pointed out, we're very confident with museum operations going forward. As far as our major projects go, we'll have up on the screen the latest conceptual drawings for VMNH Waynesboro. I'll also report on that we met with the Department of Engineering and Building for a preliminary plan of preliminary discussion about our plan. It was more relationship building than anything else. They really like the project. They're very supportive of it. What we'll show today, we have charged the architects to get some creative solutions to address some concerns that they have. So I'll be bringing that up. Lisa had already mentioned the ESCO project. We're essentially 90-something% done with it. There are apparently still some LEDs outstanding that when they come in, they'll be installed. I think everything else is good to go.
There was a note saying you haven't gotten the energy savings you thought you would, or something like that. Do you need to tweak things? or-
No. One of the reasons that we did not see the savings that you would normally anticipate is the fact we had work going on at Douglas Avenue. So we pay utilities over there as well. So with the roof and drainage replacement going on, that made an extra draw on our electric, that's all it is. So going forward and through the next board meeting, we shouldn't have that. And speaking of Douglas Avenue, everything's good. I mean, we're getting, currently right now, we're getting some new environmental data over there. We put data loggers over there that measure temperature and humidity. So again, just to remind everyone, what we're doing here is once Douglas is in a situation that we're comfortable with, we do have the HVAC going over there. And I mean, for you that are going over today to see it for the first time, you're not going to be able to appreciate the difference that environment is now compared to just, last year. You go over there in the middle of the summer and it's awful, even with the air handlers moving. I went over there in July when the roof was mostly finished and it was like a new building as far as I'm concerned. So next steps, we're going to get a prison crew over there. There's a little more carpeting and so forth that has to be removed. And then we're going to start some TLC on the inside. Once
Is it wall to wall covering?
it was, in some areas it was.
So hard to take off.
It is, and it's bad. So I believe the majority of it is up and out of there now. Incidentally, lesson learned, and in fact, by museum standards, no behind the scenes area should have carpeting, right? But that just wasn't considered. So in Waynesboro,
Because why?
a pest infestation issue. So it's best practices to not have carpeting at all in behind the scenes areas and only have carpeting where there is a particular need. So for instance, in a toddler specialty area, you would want to have some kind of carpeting down.
So here's a funny story for you guys, completely unrelated. I just bought a house that has 7 fireplaces, a bunch of chimneys, built in 1895. There's a chimney and then there's a fireplace in every room because that's how they heat it. And they put wall-to-wall carpet in the upstairs, so I've just started ripping it out. The floors upstairs are all various colors. One floor was painted, the floors were painted bright blue, so it'll be interesting to see what color the other floors are. Why would you paint hardwood floors bright blue? I don't know. Anyway, I'm sure that's not an issue with Douglas Avenue, but taking that carpet was nasty, nasty, nasty dirty.
Yeah.
I don't think it was put down in 1895, but it might as well have been. I mean,
Yeah, they do use some pretty heavy duty adhesives. We're very fortunate to have access to the prison crews. We treat them real well. We buy them lunch, feed them, give them coffee, and everything else, and they work pretty hard for us.
Good.
Ryan will give a report on advancement. We're off to a good start. The 2 main grants that we've gotten in beyond CHML, which continuously is bringing funds in. Hayden would have been here to give RNC a report, but he came down with the flu. So he's down for the count right now. But CHML.
Get your flu shots if you haven't already.
Yeah, you're not kidding. But the 2 main grants that we've got beyond CHML include a IMLS grant, Institute for Museum and Library Services. So we're setting up we call it the STEM laboratory across the way. We don't have the equipment yet, but we'll do a tour upcoming whenever they're finished. But that's going to be a kind of specialized demo area for training. So we're talking with the local schools, their curriculum folks. They're excited. They want to bring students over here. So we'll demonstrate the capabilities. In the meantime, it will also become a usable space for visiting scientists and so forth. The second grant related to what Cord had reported on about our travel. We did get the National Science Foundation grant with Lynchburg University. So we have 3 years of funding for Lynchburg, for the Wyoming dinosaur dig. And our obligation there beyond going to the dig and doing what we've always done is that we will be taking on some Lynchburg University interns who will get paid through the grant. So,
That's great.
it's awesome. It's fun. And so
I guess they're studying archaeology.
yeah, paleontology, sure.
Paleontology
Yep.
specifically.
So yeah, we're pretty excited about that. And everything else is going well.
They have a paleontology major.
They don't have a major, but Dr. Brooke Heyer, a Jefferson awardee. She's had a long relationship with us. So yeah, they have an active paleontology program where they do train students. So some of them will be spending time over here. So we should have further information on our corporate partnerships and the annual fund. All of those mailings went out this month. It was either this month or last month, but they're all out, and we should be receiving an inflow of money from that. So the foundation is flush. I will also, in terms of revenues, point out that, and Ryan will give more info on this, but we have found since the pandemic, and the pattern still holds true, that our attendance is not back, I will say, to pre-pandemic levels. You'll see in the graphs that it is.
Which is pretty good though.
It's not bad, yeah, and certainly our festivals are knocking it out of the park. However, the revenue per visitor is a lot larger than it used to be, right? So the revenues are actually doing better, even like compared to pre-pandemic, even though the attendance is not yet there.
So I noticed that in the bar charts, and I had a question about it. Is it because they're buying more at the gift shop or something, or is it because we raised our prices?
No, we did not raise prices.
So they're spending more while they're here.
They're spending more while they're here. The vast majority of the people that we're getting, the big chunk, of course, are from the two festivals, which Bones and Booze is not reflected in these first quarter graphs. However, we've also tried to do other things to increase revenue. At Dinosaur Fest, we had the photographs for sale, the green screen. We hit the Bones and Booze. We had a beer garden for the adults, and they did pretty good. So
we get a mark. We make money from those.
yeah, with the green screen, we have very few expenses associated with that. You know, the cost per sheet of printable, whatever you call it. With the beer tent, I'm gonna mess it up, but it's something.
We got a percentage or something.
Yeah, the distributor donated it to us to a certain level that conformed with ABC, but then we kept all the proceeds from the sales, so we kind of doubled up on it, you know, which isn't bad at all.
So on the green screen, one of the things that we could look at doing is not offering the photos there. You can do it digitally, like get it immediately, and then you get to capture their email addresses too.
Cool. All right. Well, I'd love to hear
So
more details.
That way, when you take the pictures and stuff, you don't have to have a printer. We already have all the equipment, so there's no cost there.
Mhm.
So as we do the picture, if you're doing my picture, you're like, okay, what email address am I sending it to? You know, I'm giving you my email address or cell phone number, whatever the case may be. You get to capture that to send out future
That's smart.
stuff about everything.
Yeah.
And then they get the picture on their phone immediately, which they can then copy, do whatever they want
Put
to
on
with it.
Facebook, whatever.
Yes,
Yeah.
and then they've got it right then and there, and we don't even have to worry about taking, hard. Some people still want hard copies, generally older people.
You still offer the hard copies,
Yeah,
but you try to go digital to get the capture in.
I know the zoo,
Contact.
the Asheboro Zoo does both, but it's like $15 more if you get the picture than if they do it and then send you the thing, and they've got a wide variety of backgrounds that you get to choose from.
Right.
Generally, any of the animals there or something, so here it
That's
could be
awesome.
anything, but that way you get to capture all those emails and phone numbers and stuff too, so.
Very smart.
Okay. I think we can implement some changes to kind of broaden our success there. The one committee report I definitely wanted to bring up, especially since we have the chair, Roberto. First of all, we had a little issue after our strategic planning event. It was a technological issue which erased or caused us to lose some files. So we reproduced the meeting minutes as best we could from our handwritten notes. So I just want to make sure that you're comfortable as we move into the full board meeting with the minutes. They reflect what we talked about. And I don't know if there are parts of that committee meeting that you want to bring up for the executive committee. We've done a lot of things. We've started a stakeholder list, which we talked about, so that's something that is meant to grow, be an evolving document. and so forth. I know you talked about the big, hairy, aggressive goals, the BHAGs and so forth. So, I don't know if there's something in particular that you want to cover with that at all. So I'll leave it up to you as kind of an open opportunity to talk about some of our strategic directions.
Let's start with the minutes, Roberto, first. Were you okay with the minutes as retyped or re-put together?
Yeah, I think they looked okay. I'll take a second look in between our pause here just to make sure nothing's popped out. The only other thing I can remember in terms of activity was the conference call we had with the two Roanoke professors in terms of the background information and slide deck that she provided to us on diversity terms. And that could be something as we continue the conversations of that subtopic, something we could bring up, maybe share with the rest of the folks. But obviously somewhere along the way, we'll need to do some kind of baselining to get all of us on the same terminology and understanding. This way, as we move forward, we'll know where we're trying to go. But I'll look again. No, I don't remember anything out of whatever. I know our meeting was more of a brainstorming session. I don't think we came up with any action items per se. I think the one discussion we had afterwards between Joe and myself was Joe thinking about how some of this stuff might pertain to the staffing and the internal issues as opposed to the customer issues. So I think, Joe, you said you might want to look into brainstorm a little bit on how that might affect your house, so to speak, going forward. So that'll be the aspects between the in-house, the customers, the board, and any other subtopic we may want to create under the whole DIA umbrella. But nothing popped out that was, a concern. I'll look again before we get there. But I think those are the main topics in terms of having a good brainstorming session, the follow-up session with the Roanoke person, and thinking about what subtopics we want to think about. Oh, and expanding the contact list. Obviously, somewhere along the way, I guess the most pressing may be Waynesboro, I guess, making sure Waynesboro and Martinsville, we know who the players are, especially as we head into our legislative session. If there's anybody in particular during the legislative session that needs to be reached out to in whatever fashion, that's the only other thing I can think of.
Roberto, if you do have changes to the minutes for that, he can ask for those changes in the meeting,
Yes.
Right? Yeah, okay. So speaking of legislative staff and legislative contacts, I noticed in something I read, I'm not sure which report it was in, that you've got staff visiting in December, legislative staff visiting in December.
Yes. So
are they good ones?
Yeah, this is the House Appropriation staff. So the Early Childhood Learning Center, which we're now calling Young Explorers. Yeah, the Young Explorers Center, Young Explorers area. So that caught their eye, even though it didn't make it. It made it through the Senate, didn't make it through the House, but it did catch their eye. These are the people that I might be misusing a term here, but in a way, they're kind of a gatekeeper. The legislators will not get funding to consider if it is not put in front of them by staff. So they were the ones that reached out to Jonathan and wanted to set up a meeting, which suggests to me realistically that they have something going on at NCI or something. And while they're here, they're going to come visit.
That's awesome.
It is. And so in support of that, we have Joan Montgomery, who is former principal here and serves on our foundation. And we have Dr. Zeb Talley, who is the Martinsville superintendent, have agreed to attend that meeting as well to represent the foundation. So we're just going to present what we plan to do, why we're doing it, institutional sustainability, but also it conforms with the governor's educational objectives.
Do we know if they're Republican staff, Democratic staff?
They are not appointed.
No, but who do they work? Are they just the staff? They don't report to any member?
No.
So there's no reason to have any political people here to influence them.
I do not believe so. Right.
Okay, well, that's good news.
So yeah, I think we're pretty comfortable with the strategy we have moving forward. As far as elected officials go in Waynesboro, I have been asking everyone who listened to me, and I don't know how many presentations I've given in the last quarter up in Waynesboro to interested groups, arts club, couple of 3 different garden clubs, service organizations, AARP. I've been asking them to write letters of thanks to Delegate Aboli and Senator Hanger as our champions in the project. So we thank them regularly, right? So, and of course, every session we stop by and talk to their legislative aides. So, shoot, I had one other thing that I wanted to mention about Waynesboro.
Exhibits, the view,
no,
parking, there were lots of things in the report.
Yeah,
Having a 2-story.
it was a higher level. Oh, yes, it doesn't have anything to do with the building. The Waynesboro Advocacy Committee will report on today that we've had discussions. If you go back to 2015, we hired Carter as a fundraising company to do a kind of a strategic report on the state of fundraising within the region, and they did that. So we've gone back to them, and they have put together a proposal for us. It is reasonable, and we have enough money in the Waynesboro account for fundraising to more than cover the costs. Their proposal, of course, starts tomorrow, right? But you know what we have decided, and I think is the way to go, is to wait until we have something in black and white that shows that we have the legislation in place, that we are getting the lion's share of the money, $20–25 million, whatever the price tag is, for the General Assembly to pay for the Waynesboro building.
When will that happen?
Pardon me?
When will that happen?
We're hoping this session, right? I don't know when the money, I've learned my lesson. I don't know when the money will move into an account where we can begin to spend, but as long as we have the black and white document that's in law, we can then start a capital campaign. And it's just good best practices. You go into a capital campaign publicly when you've got 70% of the money, and that would be much more than that. So, and they're good with that. So they will be, the description is going to be a situation where the foundation does not have to approve the spending of that money because that's a restricted account. It is made to be spent for Waynesboro, but I think it is a good relationship strategy to ensure that we inform them at the next board meeting, and Melanie can do this, that the board will be requesting transfer of the amount of money. In the end, it's going to be somewhere around $50,000.
Nothing we need to vote on.
Nope. I just don't want to forget about the foundation and just show up and be like, hey, I need 50 grand. So I think everything is in place. Glave Homes and all of our colleagues there, they are moving expeditiously. We're going to finish detailed design and have everything submitted to the General Assembly in a month or two. And at that point, we're going to begin to work on the inside of the building. And that's going to be working with Riggs Board Design on exhibits. And then there's also all the infrastructure that goes in with it. So I think we're in as good a position as we can be going into this General Assembly session.
So the pavilion it seems to me it just keeps getting overlooked. We're going out for bid again soon, according to the
Yes.
notes.
Yeah, we're just waiting
What if
on.
all those bids come in higher than they did before? Are we gonna go back for another loop? That's what happened before, right? The bids all came in way high, so we
Yes.
decided to redo. Supply chain, inflation, they're all gonna come in high again.
Yeah.
So what's the solution to that?
Well, according to the architect, this new round, the design and everything, which it's mainly, it's not going to look different. It's just the way that they're going to do things like footers and other invisible aspects of the design. So they have a price estimate in mind, you know, that they said it should come in about here, and we have the money for it.
So under construction, summer, spring?
We're planning to have it open this summer.
Okay.
And what that means is, you know, again, you know, with our future calendar of events and so forth, our July Dinosaur Festival is going to be the first festival in which we'll plan on having that available for a full festival.
Is that all you got?
Yes.
Anything else for Joe and the executive director's report?
Can you clarify on the fundraising company? So who is technically the customer? Is it the museum or is it the foundation?
Well, technically, it's going to be the foundation because they'll be the ones raising the funds, right? So what we're doing right now is we are quietly identifying people who can serve as campaign chair or co-chair. So we have a couple of people in mind, and we've scheduled a discussion for Tuesday with one of them. So that will be between the foundation and this particular individual.
So technically the contract is signed by the foundation. It's between the foundation and that company to raise funds for us, the museum.
Yes. So once the funds are raised and available, we just simply execute a transfer over to the museum side for spending on the project. So for instance, if we need $1 million for one of the exhibit galleries or whatever it would be, we would then transfer as needed, you know, if we have, say, 3 installments to pay for that particular project, we'll get 3 installments from the foundation to our revenue account, and then that gets spent out to whoever the board, the museum, has contracted with. In this case, we're talking about exhibits, that would be Briggs Board Design.
Cool. Just understanding the players.
Yep. No, they're good. I've talked to their references. You know, they're right now at the tail end of a $25 or so million project for some fancy high school in Baltimore, and it's apparently going very well. So ours, of course, right now is a $2 million goal. At some point, we will need to make up our mind on that, and we'll talk to the foundation about this, and Waynesboro Advocacy is going to be part of it. If we should go ahead and bump that, considering that everything costs more now.
Yeah, plus some of the extras people are asking for, like green roof and all that. I mean, you could have if you want the green roof named after you, give X, you know, so you can do it that way too.
Yeah, we have a preliminary list of naming opportunities, things that we know will be there, and some of them are a little vague.
But
like,
some of them could be extra things.
Yes.
Extra things that aren't
Absolutely.
included, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So it could be 2 million or 3 if we want to do the extra stuff.
Yeah, so for instance, we have right now the naming of the building at $1 million, but you know, once we didn't want to put it out there quite yet, but you know, we might offer up $500,000 for the future wing, right? Because right now, the way the architects are working, by positioning the building on the land, that there will be room to put a new wing should we meet with great success and wish to expand the holdings. We can build a wing between the building and Arch Avenue on the lot. So that's where we're going with it right now. But until that's all finalized, we don't want to offer it up. But yeah, we're offering all the way down to exhibit cases at the $5,000 range.
Very good. Anything else for Joe before we turn to the General Assembly stuff?
You know, I was looking at the roster and I think there's 2 folks that were terming on June 22. Did I miss something? Is that still an issue, or did we hear back? Are they safe? Or
Who are the people, Roberto?
Oh, on the board.
yeah, Tom and Nathan.
Oh, no, they're good. They were reappointed.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah, remember we lost Michael, and that's what.
Yeah, I remembered that. I just, you
Yeah.
know, had a senior moment, I guess.
Okay. All right, so General Assembly 2023 goals, getting the money for Waynesboro,
Mhm.
and then the Education Center, which we're calling the Young Explorers something.
Yes.
Anything else?
Just continued funding, level funding.
But those are our two big things.
Those are the two project-based requests, yes.
And this is location of February meeting. Where did we do it last year? Did we do it at Dominion? We host you? Where did you do it?
No. Got right here.
Well, I'm happy to host.
Okay.
We have our brand new building. I'm in the brand new building now.
Oh, all right.
We've got very nice meeting
That would be
facilities.
February 2021.
We want to be in Richmond anyway, right? Because of the General Assembly.
There was talk about having it in Waynesboro.
And then having the General Assembly Day be a different time.
Yes. I think, yeah, the last February meeting was by Zoom conference.
Mhm.
I think that might have been our last.
Right. Do people not like to come to Richmond?
No, I think people do enjoy it. I mean, the last one we had where we stayed out by the airport, I think that was very well attended.
So why Waynesboro in February?
I don't know. I think somebody, honestly, I think it was just an idea that was tossed out there. I would be more than happy to begin the organizational process of setting up a board meeting in Richmond at Dominion. I think that would be advantageous for a lot of reasons. And then for those.
Walkable to the General Assembly.
Yes. And frankly said, those of you who always have to, we now have 5 board members from Richmond. So, I mean, you're driving a long ways. And we got Roberto up in Northern Virginia. So
The other thing too is, I don't know how feasible this is, but I really think having as many people on the board as we can visit the General Assembly
yes,
is important. And I mean, if you think it's a good idea, one of our lobbyists could come in and talk about,
oh, perfect.
here's what you should do when you visit the General Assembly. Here's what you shouldn't do. Here's some tips. Have a leave behind, try and talk to the member, but if you can't talk to the staffer, they're just as important. I mean, we could do that.
Yeah, I would love it. I was always charged with it when I was a board member at VAM and we did Museum Advocacy Day. I had to give it the tip, so I would love to hear from somebody else.
Yeah, I mean, we could have our chief lobbyist person do it.
That's cool.
It is a 3-block walk to the General Assembly from there, but it shouldn't just fall on like 3 or 4 of us to the General Assembly. I think getting as many people from the board up there.
One other thing I wanted to bring up, and this is what we did, again, this was Museum Advocacy Day. We worked with the General Assembly to reserve a room.
There.
And so we might have had, I don't know, 15, 20 different museums that had a display table. And so we also had breakfast. And that's what got people in, and then you had a chance to talk to them.
They do that every year. They have like Museum Day or something.
Yes.
Yeah, we could do it then. That's what you're saying. Have a booth.
Do you want to tie in with it?
Oh, you're saying that would be separate?
Yeah, I was going to say we have a Virginia Museum of Natural History Day.
Oh.
I'll look into it to see if we can get a room. If not, now VAM has undergone changes. Now they weren't doing Museum Advocacy Day solely because of the pandemic. So I'm still waiting to hear about a Museum Advocacy Day for 2023. So certainly we would participate in that one way or the other, right? We would either be part of that
Separately or?
Yeah. So we can look into it and make a recommendation to the board as far as what we do. But most importantly, we do need to pick a day. I think it was your lobbyist that made the suggestion for the last day, last time that we ran around. We did a lot of damage with a small amount of people. If we have better participation, I think we could be very successful.
Yeah, if your board meeting in the morning and lobby in the afternoon, or lobby in the morning, the board meeting in the afternoon, or whatever.
Yeah. So do you think you could ask your people again about a suggested date, please? Is there anybody else on the board we could also get input from?
Other political people? I mean, I don't do it anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, I know our political. people.
Well, if you wouldn't mind, if you could just, ask if somebody knows somebody. I would just love to get as much information as we can to ensure that we pick the right day and not show up and be like, oh no, all the legislators are
Well, I'll
gone.
ask for people.
Yeah,
I'll ask for
okay,
people for a
cool.
day.
Very good.
The sooner we can lock in a room, the better. That new
Mhm.
building, things, even if I have to lock in 2 or 3 different days.
Yeah.
The sooner we can get the better. So I'll do that Monday.
Okay.
Yeah, that helps set people up, because I know in my first stab at this was definitely like a day like that in Richmond, but then once you kind of have at least an eyeball relationship with your legislators when they have stuff at home, it's a lot easier to go in and talk to them then, because you've already kind of
Yeah.
pressed hands at least once. So this could be a good kind of habit to get us into. And the folks that aren't that comfortable will get comfortable on the Richmond team thing, and then they'll be more comfortable when they go home to try to hit up their legislators in a more casual environment.
Well, the people that aren't comfortable, we can assign them. We just ask. If you're not comfortable, you just get 1 or 2 people to talk to, right? And the others, you try and hit all 20 on your list. But we can work with people. But it's a good skill set for anybody, I think, on our board to have.
Sounds weird, but have we ever thought about using maybe some past board members? People that are still really involved, but they have that end there, like Missy Net. She really loves the museum.
We
And
certainly.
she's got stuff there. She's got connections.
Oh, yeah.
So I mean, if we use some past board members, now these legislators are seeing that it's not just us that are in here now. It's people that used to be here that they're still involved and they still want to help. And they might know a few more contacts to talk to also. So
I think someone like Missy would be good to talk to, because what we have learned, particularly with our kind of having our hands held in certain ways with VMNH Waynesboro, is that getting in front of the right staff in Richmond is far more influential than talking to a legislator. Legislators, of course, have to vote, right? But to get something into the pipeline, be considered for funding or continued funding or whatever it may be. And I think Missy would be a good. I was just in contact with her. David Taylor retired from DEQ, and so she reached out to me about that, and so we've been in touch. One that was always very helpful.
He's a great guy. I don't know if you're talking about any way you could use him for anything. I don't know what he's going to do in retirement, but he's an awesome guy.
Who's that?
Taylor.
Oh yeah, yeah. I don't know.
I don't know what he wants to do in retirement, but he's super smart, super connected.
And when we were in natural resources, it was a grand total of 2 times I needed information from him, and he always called me back.
He's great.
Yeah.
He's great.
Yeah. But Gene Smith, he's less participatory these days, but he knows a lot of the legislators. I mean, he was always really good, because we brought him around the General Assembly. He would just roll in on people and be like, "Hey, how's your grandkid? How old is he now?" Right? So he knows.
That's what you need.
Yes. So I'll see if he'll be available. I know he's a former board member, serves on our foundation now. He's been undergoing some health concerns that he is addressing. So that's why he's been less participatory. Hopefully that's all going on. Okay. All right. So the big thing right now is to move expeditiously to secure a date, and then get to start with, though, we'll eyeball maybe 3 dates that we think are strategic, and then maybe we can get that confirmed or denied through your connections. We'll figure out what's going to be the best day.
That's it for the agenda you had put together. Are there anything else on the General Assembly? I think we hit that one pretty hard. Okay, what about any other items? Are there any other things we should talk about at the executive committee meeting?
The full board meeting, you mean?
Or anything, other things
Oh,
we
here.
should talk about here, including things we should talk about there.
Right. Yeah.
Anything else for here?
I don't know if it's a big thing, but the one word that we never, I don't hear much of anymore is the canopy. We still,
The canopy walk?
yeah.
Oh,
we still-
yeah.
That's,
Yeah. Again, we were always in line with the idea of, we're not gonna do anything with that until the pavilion is in. I can tell. The two things that we have right now that are kind of loose. One, we did talk casually with an architect. Well, we talked with two architects. The first architect, they have already built a canopy walk up in New England. They turned around and actually withdrew because when they figured out we were a state agency, the ones that they built were built from telephone poles, wood. And they were like, there's no way your state's gonna let us do that. So we need to back out of the process. Now, they made a recommendation to a second architect. We had casual conversation with them. Basically, we have posed the question, how do we get this started, right? Because we're a state agency. We're not talking about just building an office building. We're talking about a unique structure. So before we get too far down the line, we need to talk to certain entities. So they are willing to, free of charge, basically put together a roadmap. Here's your menu. You know, if you can solve these, then maybe we can enter a contract, right? We don't have a penny for it right now. That said, well, I'll just tell you what the mayor said. I talked to the mayor earlier this week. And she said, hey, how are things coming with the park? And so, you know, I just hear the general thing. We're still looking at it and everything. And she says, I'd like to make sure we can put some money into the canopy walk. So what we need to do is,
Take a more formal proposal.
yeah, it doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to be a final proposal. We need, like, honestly, I don't know at this point, is it going to cost us $5 million to do this? Is it going to cost us 10? I don't have a clue. Right, so that's what we want to reach out to the architect with, to see if we tell them, can we get like a cost per foot or something?
I think there's what, 3 large ones in the United States.
There might be
Like
more
really
than that
big
now.
ones?
So the big ones that I know of are Atlanta and upstate New York. I think the one, and neither one is, what am I trying to say? Our vision. It's our vision, because of our geography, would be different. Entering through a museum and entering a canopy walk. One of the botanical gardens, it's all flat. You know, did you go? You didn't go to that one yet, have you? Okay.
Trying to remember who, one of the board members, a past board members here, and we was talking about that one in Atlanta. And I was thinking their starting cost was like $7 million or something. It was one of the ones he brought up. He was showing us, and actually, you know, it was Barry. Barry had done some research on it, and he was showing me pictures and stuff, and he was like, it's gonna take a lot of work if we're gonna get a $7 million canopy walk and stuff. And he was looking at several different ones, and we're like, I was like, I thought we were looking in that $3 to $4 million range, and here's Barry like $7 million starting out.
I just wouldn't be surprised, but we've got assets available to us, and it'll require some lobbying, right? We have Harvest Foundation. Anyway, we have Harvest Foundation. We still have Tobacco Commission, even something like Appalachian Regional Commission, which would be the longest stretch, I think. When we had them here, they loved it. They got it. They were concerned about getting permissions. No, they were just, is this the kind of project that fits their mission? But they do talk about tourism and getting more people to an area to bolster economies. So that's the angle.
Huge fit with that then.
I know, but I'm just telling you what they said.
Right.
That was one conversation. I think that organization would be one, while I think they're very much willing to listen, we need to make sure we have the right message for it. So, and we should.
If there's that few around in the country, then definitely the tourism people, I would think we'd find some partners that would love to. I mean, it becomes a tourism thing if there's only like 10 in the entire country.
I agree, and I would hope so.
It's almost like you want to start lobbying whoever the next governor is going to be, because we've got to get through Waynesboro and all that. But I mean, it's too bad you can't figure out who the next governor is going to be and start talking to them.
We could make a lot of money if we could figure that one
Yes,
out.
I know.
We wouldn't need to lobby anybody,
Yeah,
we'd already
exactly.
have the money.
Yeah.
All right,
But that's about the right time frame. The next one is the next, yeah.
agreed. yeah.
All right, anything else for the executive committee? All right, so that you want to go over the whole closed session thing with me, Joe, before we get to the meeting? So
Yeah.
Okay. All right, anything else, Roberto, Nathan? All right, talk to you guys later.
Okay, thank you. You're both connecting the full board meeting, correct?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah, I'll be there, guys.
all
All
right,
right.
we'll see you shortly.
Bye. How do we?